everyone, and welcome to Thorough Newspaper Analysis, which is presented to you by Losico. So, today we will be discussing two articles, and both are from the Indian Express. The first article is In Farm Debate, a Green Reality Check. So, basically, this article talks about that we have been discussing a lot about the farm bills, the climate change, and every related stuff. But one important point that we have been missing is the problem of monoculture in the agriculture. So, what basically is the monoculture and what are the consequences of practicing monoculture will be discussed in this article. And secondly, we have a new map for the end of oil age. So basically, this discusses about a plan that should be taken up. And if we talk about India specifically, so the steps that India should be taking in making a transition from reducing the use of fossil fuels and developing or moving towards renewable sources of energy. And thirdly, we have the news and flash column, wherein we'll be discussing the news that is more important for our prelims exam. But I don't think that today we have a news and flash column. Let's see. So if you're also preparing for judicial services examination, you can definitely have a look at the lot of the courses, which is Judiciary Test Prep course from Losico. The link to this course is there in the description box below, and you can definitely have a look at it. From there, you can also download free study material for your own preparation. Also, the PDF of this entire discussion will now be available on a Telegram group. The link to this Telegram group is also there in the description box as well. With this, let's see what is the multiple choice question. Now we have tried to make a small change, a slight change, that now the MCQs would be from the discussion that we did a day before. So like we did the last discussion on 5th of December, which was Saturday. So this MCQ would be related to the content we discussed in there, and it can belong to any part of it, be it the major articles or the news and flash column. And then the descriptive question will be the one which we'll be discussing today itself. So the MCQ from our previous discussion is, which of the following is an employment guarantee program or scheme? Firstly, Manrega. Second, Mudra. Third, Ayush. Or fourth, Antodaya Yojana. So now you can write down your answer in the comment section below. This is the descriptive question for the day. What are the negative consequences of practicing monoculture in agriculture? Does India too practice it? So we'll be knowing the entire answer once we start discussion for today's article. So yes, this is about the farm debate and green reality check. So this is in here we'll be talking about the monoculture. So as we know that the recent debates relating to farm bills, they're restricted to agricultural marketing and economics of livelihood. Now, as we know that the farmers are also on the protest, they're all sitting on the roads and protesting for, their demands. So, but the major discussion or the, center of our discussion has been, there have been two discussions largely. Firstly, about the agricultural market, whether or not the mandis will be available or not, and they'll be allowed to sell outside the mandi, and then what would be the repercussions of that, stuff like that, and about the question of MSP, minimum selling price, etc. And then the other discussion is about the economics of livelihoods, almost like with the MSP, and what would be the government support and procurement procedure, so on and so forth. And we've largely discussed upon them several times now. But one problem that has been missed out in the entire discussion is the problem of monoculture. Now, basically, first let's understand what actually is monoculture, and then we'll have to understand the reasons why monoculture is becoming a problem, and also why monoculture is actually practiced in India. So basically, the monoculture, it means, okay, just give me a second. Yeah. So monoculture means that it is a form of agriculture that is based on growing only one type of crop at a given time on a specified field. Now, in this, we don't really have to, put a lot of brains as well. The name itself is suggesting mono, wherever we use this term, is used for something that is singular in nature, a single type of one kind of something. So monoculture is when we grow the same seeds, or we grow the same plants or crops over and over again at a given time. Basically, like there is a whole field of, for example, say 1 acre. So on all of that land, you only have wheat, or you only have rice, or you only have strawberries. So when there is only one kind of crop growing on at one particular time at a given field or at a specified field, so that practice is called as monoculture. Now let's understand that what are the reasons why we practice monoculture. Firstly, emphasize maximum crop yields farm incomes and global competitiveness. Now, for example, just let's take this very simple example that you have a piece of land, right? Now you have a choice to grow either wheat or strawberries, or let's say, for example, anything like sugarcane. So, and you are given the choice that any of these things you can grow. So definitely you will keep into mind as to which of these crops will be able to give you the best and maximum return from the market. And for example, the demand for wheat is something that is ever increasing, and the people want to buy wheats. And also you're sure that the market that is available around you gives a good price in return of wheat. So definitely you will be making a choice to sow wheat on the entire piece of land. So that is why when there are, the global competitiveness or the global demand, or whichever crop actually promises a better yield or a better output in terms of productivity as well as in terms of prices, so that actually incentivizes the farmer to grow that particular crop. Secondly, guaranteed procurement. Like just I gave you the example of wheat. So as we know that northern India depends, like for the entire food consumption, wheat and rice are the most staple diet of the parts of our North Indian diet. So that is why it is something that you know for sure that people will be consuming, and you know for sure that there will be 100% demand for this particular crop, and that is why you will play safe and would want to grow this particular crop. Now, for example, there is the piece of land that you have is very much suitable for growing trees of, say, dragon fruit as well. But you very well know that in our common culture in India, dragon fruit is not one of those fruits which is consumed very much readily, and that is why you might have a doubt that the procurement of this particular fruit would not be as fulfilling as that of the wheat. So definitely the choice would go towards growing wheat. So though the a comparison is a bit different, because wheat is a seasonal thing, and as in it grows for a period of time and then you harvest it. But on the other hand, the dragon fruit trees have to be grown. But still, I just wanted to give you an example of the procurement guarantee. So then we have greater corporatization of agriculture. So because obviously we have the contract farming or higher stocking limits of private markets. So whatever the government policies are there, so the policies are definitely are in favor, in a greater favor of one kind of crop and not in the other kind of crop, and which ultimately makes the decision of the farmer that which crop will he be growing in his field. So these are the basic reasons of monoculture. So basically, it's not more or less the choice of the farmer per se, rather the market forces or the demand of the people or the culture of that particular area, or the returns or the procurement benefits that are available with that particular crop, that actually incentivize the farmer to grow only a particular kind of crop for a period of time on his land. But then let's understand that what are the problems associated with the monoculture. So there is obviously destruction of rich agri diversity, because as we know, many a times when we were into our schools also, we used to learn about the benefits of mixed farming. Because see, the soil has a lot of nutrients, but different kinds of crops demand different kinds of nutrients. For example, there is nutrient A, B, C, and D in the soil, but wheat, for example, is only a kind of it likes to absorb only kind of this nutrient number 2, which is B. But again and again, if you will be growing wheat, so definitely this particular piece of soil or part of soil will become deficient in the nutrient B, and it will have in good amount nutrient A, C, and D. But since over and over you're growing the same crop and same demand is being taken up from the soil, so the soil tends to become deficient in particular nutrients. And that is why it is advisable that we grow different kinds of crops at different periods of time, so that different kinds of consumption patterns take place and the soil becomes rich every now and then and does not become deficient into particular nutrients. So that is why monoculture causes destruction of a rich agri diversity. Then growing toxicity of air, water, and soil. So basically, as we know that after the green revolution in India, even rice, it was not able to be sown in areas of many areas of Haryana and Punjab, because the water availability was not so high. But after the green revolution, it has been made quite possible that by the use of fertilizers and high yielding varieties, the water consumption actually, the government has also has been giving water resources for free in various areas of these states. And also the production or the return of these crops has increased so much. It has increased so many times that the farmers think that whatever investment they are doing is comparatively very less as compared to the returns that they would be getting. So that is why what happens is that there is huge use of fertilizers in order to get the maximum output of their crops. And now I think like a day or two before we discussed that how the overuse of fertilizers is leading to the concentration of ammonia, or the ammonia gases in the environment, which are one of the most major pollutants of the air and causes a lot of diseases as well. So the ammonia, it gets, the nitrogen, it gets moved in, it moves to the air, and it forms different formations, and thus pollutes the air heavily. And also the groundwater and soil are also polluted due to this activity. Then over extraction of groundwater, yes, of course. Recently, there was a study which was taken up in some South Indian states, wherein those areas, they amounted to be the largest producers of cereal crops in India, but yet but due to this production or huge yielding of cereal crops over there, there was greater destruction or greater use of groundwater levels, and the groundwater was depleting or decreasing at a very fast rate. So that is why when we are trying to do something unnaturally, then definitely groundwater resources will also be hampered. Then growth in the pesticide use. So just in the case of fertilizers, we also have the problems of pests that actually try to take over our crops or something. And the one thing that we understand by successful agriculture, as is also mentioned in the article, is that the only and only thing that we want out of the field is good and huge amounts of crop. And other than that, we do not want obviously any kinds of weeds or insects or pests to attack our the crops. But what do we actually tend to do in order to keep our crops safe? As that we use a lot of chemicals, a lot of fertilizers, pesticides, weedicides, insecticides, due to which we increase the use of pesticides. And whether we want it or not, or whether we know or not, these pesticides and fertilizers, they actually become a part of the crops that we eat ultimately, and also they add up to our body and body system as well, which is very dangerous for our health. Then promoted ecologically unsustainable cropping pattern, which replaces nutritious millets with polished rice and wheat. Now, I think like a month or two before, we discussed about the nutri-cereals, the importance of nutri-cereals, and how they can actually tackle the problem of malnutrition into various nations. But since they do not have, a lot of returns in their hands for now, people or the farmers are only and only focusing upon the polished rice and wheat, and even the market consumption is driven towards these two crops, and we are completely ignoring the benefits of the nutritions, millets or the cereal crops like jowar, ragi, bajra, and stuff like that. So the steps that are needed in this direction are: firstly, replace resource-based approach with relationship-based approach towards the environment. Now, by this we mean that we should not be greedy and should not only be taking our environment and nature just as a resource, that okay, then Mother Nature has gifted us with this thing and all we have to do is to exploit it. No. Instead of this resource-based approach, we need to develop a relationship-based approach, that it is more like a give and take relationship, that if the nature is taking care of our needs, then we also are obliged to take care of the health of the nature. So it has to be a vice versa relationship rather than just take and take relationship. So the second one, promote public procurement for less favored crops like millets and pulses. Obviously, we should be, inculcating the habits of consumption of millets and other pulses, which are not only nutritious for our own health, but also for the health of the agriculture and the environment at large. With this, let's discuss the second article for the day, which talks about the new map or the end of oil age. So basically, this article talks about that it is high time that we as a nation focus onto, switching onto our resources and transmit towards renewable sources of energy, and rather than depending upon huge resources of fossil oils, which not only are difficult to procure, expensive to procure, but also cause huge destruction of the environment and the climate at large. So the most important things that we need to discuss in this article is what are the policy initiatives that are needed in India for taking this transition. Firstly, develop its own world scale competitive manufacturing systems for photovoltaics and battery storage. So as we know that if you want to move towards renewable resources like the solar energy, the wind energy, or hydroelectric energy, be it any one of those, so we need to have the complete logistics and the infrastructure that would support it. Like for example, if at all we want to use the solar energy as a resource of energy, we need to have photovoltaic cells or the solar cells what we have, or the solar panels. Unless we don't have them, and we do not have them at good rates that actually we can afford and take out benefit from, there would be no point of, or there will be no way of moving towards renewable resources of energy. And that is why we need to boost a competitive manufacturing system for photovoltaics and battery storage like the lithium batteries, because currently China manufactures 75% of the world's lithium batteries. As you know, the lithium batteries are the basic batteries which we use in our cell, these remotes and clocks, etc., that can actually store energy. So most of them are, 75% of the world's lithium batteries are manufactured by China. 70% of the solar cells are taken up by China. 95% of solar wafers, and 60% of production of polysilica. So these are all the basic logistics and goods which we require for converting the natural resources into our own type of energy that we can actually use. And that is why India should now focus a lot on to manufacturing all these resources at a domestic level, so that we can definitely easily distribute these amongst the people at a good and affordable price. So then next step that we need to take is prepare a clean energy strategy, because obviously how are we going to shift our manufacturing setup, which currently depends totally on fossil fuels, and then our old transportation system and everything. We need to have a clean energy plan into our mind. So firstly, we need to identify breakthrough technologies. Yes, we need to have such technologies, like the development of solar cells was one of these technologies. And then we need to establish funding mechanisms and create an environment which is, or ecosystem which is for the partnership. So definitely we should come together with various like-minded nations and form a clean energy strategy or plan. So basically, the new map is this. Actually, this article is talks about a book which is recently come up and talks about this entire issue. So there are a lot of things that have been taken up in this book, like the U.S. shale revolution. So because earlier United States of America was also one of the most major importers of fossil fuels and sources of energy, but after shale gas was discovered near the coast or near around USA. So USA has now become actually a major exporter of energy supplies. Then leveraging by Russia of its gas exports, China's assertion on the South China Sea, because that also is one of its ways to secure its energy requirements, because South China Sea is claimed to have a lot or huge content of hydrocarbons, which can be huge resource of energy. Then the sectarian strife in the Shia and Sunni region in the Middle East. Then the Paris Climate Summit. Then the impact of advancement of clean energy technologies and all related things. So this is the age oil. You can go through this graph. So basically this tells about the consumption or the demand of, just like this is for the regular oil. Green one is for the heavy oil. Purple is deep water. Then this gray one is about the polar substances, polar material. Then we have the natural gas liquids. So you can go through this as well. So, actually the prediction says that by 2050, the demand of all these things would be, it would decrease, because people would move greatly towards the renewable resources of energy. So this was all for today. We hope it was a good session for you. Thank you so much for staying tuned with LawSikho.